Well, welcome to the program once again. Always appreciative to have you out there watching. I have my regular panel show tonight, but before we start and get into the nitty-gritty issues of what's going on in the city of Fall River, I want to spend a moment and I want to say that my heart goes out to all the veterans who are serving. This is, I know, post-Memorial Day weekend. However, we have a lot of servicemen all over the world, and we've had a lot, of course, who have passed away. And so we're gonna show a little clip of something that's going to show appreciation for what they've done. So, let's see it.
All we've been given by those who came before, the dream of a nation where freedom would endure, the working prayers of centuries have brought us to this day. What shall be our legacy? What will our children say? Let them say of me, I was one who believed in sharing blessings I've received. Let me know in my heart when my days are through. America, America, I gave my best to you. America, I gave my best to you.
Well, gentlemen, maybe we can start the program now. I know CJ's got all this ammunition in front of him, but I hope the people out there appreciated that little clip, and I want them to feel that remembering people who served and, of course, people who never come back is something that we have to be very aware of constantly. So, well, let's start off with the big story: resignation of a city councilor. When has that happened in the past? In a sense that we've had resignations, but that's usually because of maybe family matter, health, getting a job somewhere, leaving town. But this is something that some of the people have been pushing, and I guess. What's happened, Chipper?
Well, I guess last night was the night that the city councilor resigned officially. I believe it was like one line, and I mean, I guess a lot of people were pushing for it. Personally, I did not. I think he should have resigned his chairmanships, but he should have served the term out. I don't believe that to put anybody into a situation like this right before budget time and with only less than basically a half a year left before the end of the term, you may give somebody some political mileage that's running for re-election again. This person, but the fact is, I don't think it was in the best interest of the city.
Well, you make a good point. Budget time.
Yeah.
New city council is going to know. Probably very little about.
Well, according to this new city councilor, Steve Long, he knows everything. I mean, they tabled the Fall River trash ordinance again last night. Now, this is big news. Steve Long was sworn in quietly this morning. Okay, But he proceeded to say, after being sworn in, that pay-as-you-throw is part of the city budget. Now, when you get into a crisis, the opportunities are very limited. At this point, it is what it is. I don't like it as a resident, but I think the discussion has to end, and we need to move forward with some courage. So guess what? Councilor Long, you are a political hack. You come from a line of political hacks. You will remain a political hack, and it's very, very clear now where your butter is bread, where you put your butter on the bread. Okay, we know you're right behind Sam Sutter, and you're right behind ripping off the people of Fall River. Thank you, Councilor Long, and when November comes, I hope you're out of there.
That's more of a statement than an answer. Anyway, Josh, what does that do for you're running for city council? Does it help you? You have a city council that's only going to be on for a little while. It doesn't mean you'll be elected. We can't say re-elected because he's been put on because someone left. Does that help you if one is left?
Well, one of the things that I see is the council isn't listening to the people. So I believe Steve Long is going to have some serious issues ahead of him, because I don't think that he has been in touch with some of the issues that the city has been facing. Even though he did come out with a statement on pay-as-you-throw, we'll have to see what the budget is going to bring, because we obviously don't know that yet. But I agree with Chip on the notion that maybe Paul Da Silva could have just finished out his term as far as being a city councilor, especially during budget time. Resigning from the chairmanship would be the probably better idea, like Chipper was saying. But I mean, we're in crunch time now, so these councils obviously know what's going on in the city. So we'll have to, to give them the chance.
What does that do to the? There's a civil suit that's going on. Jesus Correa, has he filed suit against the previous mayor, if I'm correct?
Correct? Yes. Yeah.
Did he bring in De Silva and Gosselin?
I don't believe that.
I don't believe they're involved.
I think it was just Mayor
But
Flanagan.
they might be called to.
But I'd just like to make one quick comment on this. I'm looking at the quote here. Pay-as-you-throw is part of the city budget. At this point, it is what it is. And I don't like it as a resident, but I think the discussion has to end, and we need to move forward with some courage. Well,
I'm very disappointed in that statement, because I think you have to have the courage to debate this issue a lot. Because the
now Councilor Long apparently hasn't
been paying as much attention as he pretends to, because he would realize that we haven't eliminated very many positions. There's been no reorganization, no attempt to save any of the taxpayers' money. So we have another city councilor that doesn't give one iota about the tax burden they're imposing on the people of Fall River. I think it's a travesty.
So where is pay-as-you-throw stand at this point?
Well, I know that
There seems to be talk about assessing each apartment $10. People are saying, well, I won't have to pay that assessment because I'll privatize, or maybe people. Well, I guess my question is, if you say here, take the bins back, is that the end of the $10 fee?
yes.
Yes. It would.
Yes.
Okay.
Because it's a collection fee. Okay.
Because of the bins.
Because and that includes the recycling. And another reason why I think they tabled this ordinance, not only do they want a full complement of councilors present, but on that collection fee.
So what are you saying? There is no ordinance in place
No,
now?
there's no way to enforce it right
If you
now.
don't put out the purple bag, you cannot get fined. Is that correct?
The mayor says you can get fined, but there's no ordinance to enforce it. The first cases went to the court on Tuesday, and surprisingly enough, the mayor never said what those verdicts were. You would think that the mayor or his chief of staff, I won't live in Fall River, chief of staff, would have turned around and said, oh, by the way, all those fines that we issued went to court on Tuesday, and they were all upheld.
Newspaper didn't report?
Nope, nothing. Nobody's reported it.
It's public knowledge if someone contacted the court.
Right.
Well, I'm gonna ask you a question, Richard. You're an attorney.
Well, I don't answer questions.
Well, I'll throw it out anyway. You don't have to. But the mayor says that even though there's no ordinance, they can elect to fine it, and it's there until the court rules otherwise. I thought it was just the opposite. If there's no statute or ordinance, you really don't have anything to enforce. So it would be the opposite. Uh-oh. Was that the mayor?
That was an announcement from the mayor. Shut up, Chip.
So I was just wondering, you know, he seems to think that anything he does is legal until ruled otherwise.
Boy, doesn't that sound like Flanagan?
Yeah, that's kind of like putting the, you know, proverbial horse, the cart before the horse.
Yeah, I was just wondering that. Yeah.
So anyway, there is no enforcement mechanism. It's an ordinance without, you know, they say without teeth.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and if it goes to court, and the judge says, well, what am I going to rule on? And they said, well, thin air. He said, well, I'm sorry.
But you know, the thing is that, you know, I spoke with New Bedford, okay, a gentleman there by the name of Blanchard, very intelligent man. And he said, even though New Bedford privatized, he said, what we did in New Bedford was we enacted ordinances prior to the implementation of the program so that we could enforce mandatory recycling. Now, doesn't that make sense? But here's something I found out. The problem that Fall River has is that, again with the grants, we've taken grant money for this program, and we've done nothing to do it. And by the way, the $200,000 grant that they've applied for the enforcement officers, they still haven't received. So again, we're going to spend the money before we get it and hope we get it.
There's nothing to enforce anyway.
Right.
No,
So
it's been tabled.
it's kind of a moot issue at this point. Now, let's get to the 22 windows. Are we still talking about the 22 windows?
Yes.
What has happened with that, Josh?
It vanished into thin air. Herald News hasn't reported on it, and nobody's really talked about it too much at the city council. No citizens have brought it up, you know, recently that I know of, or you know that I can remember. I would hope that it's still under investigation because that's what Mayor Sutter had stated, and so far we heard nothing. And obviously we got a report back from the Silver Suit case. Well, not the Silver Suit case, but the case between Jazel and Flanagan from Special Prosecutor Conley, and I mean that was obviously tabled. It seemed like, and obviously it just only gave credibility to certain people, one person, which was Jazel, and everybody else was found uncredible. So are we going to have the same situation now with these 22 windows?
Yeah, well, Connolly is not investigating the windows, as far as I know.
Well, they're hoping we all forget. That's the problem. And as our new councilor has said,
amnesia.
we don't want any debate, but this is the kind of thing. They hope that we don't keep this in the forefront in the public's mind. You know, he's saying, let's move on, we're in trouble. But we're in trouble because we're not looking to identify who's mismanaging our money and putting in 22 windows. And this is the problem with the city. You know, this city is like a giant vacuum cleaner. All it does is suck the taxpayers' money, and there's no accountability at all.
No, none.
And this is the problem, and this is why it troubles me when I see someone who is now going to be in the city council, and he's already basically said, I'm not going to represent the people. My attitude is, look, it is what he said it. It is what it is.
Right.
And let's just tax them. And because the only solution that they have is taxes.
So,
Let's
talking
not
about
forget,
vacuum.
let's not forget too, Kadim was involved in that situation as city administrator, and everybody's left him out of the limelight as well. So
Who's that?
Sean
Sean
Kadim,
Kadim.
because Sean Kadim was the city administrator at the time. So
Yeah.
the question is who signed off on the windows?
Oh, yeah, well,
obviously there's no paperwork,
Yeah,
but
the windows, yeah.
who's is he being investigated? Is you know the administration being investigated?
Well,
the
that's
previous
why I
administration?
raised the question, because there's been no answer to the
But
22
you know,
windows.
you know,
Well,
Richard, all we always get is fluff. We don't get the truth. We don't get the story. I mean, you and I both know that if the feds can't get you on anything, they're going to get you on conspiracy. They're going to get you one way or the other. But they supposedly can't even get the mayor, Paul De Silva, and Tommy Goslin on conspiracy. That's a crock.
Well, I don't know if that's over yet.
Oh no, it's over. It's done.
Well, if the civil, you have a civil suit,
Yeah.
and they could be called in to be questioned, and they could be put under oath. It come out a little differently than Attorney Connolly, who didn't put them under oath. So in discovery,
Yeah.
you know, you're gonna.
You're
But it
telling me
also
a
depends-
criminal, a potential criminal act, the special prosecutor did not swear them in?
No, they weren't sworn.
Wow.
But the other thing too is how far is Jazel willing
That
to
is
push it?
scary.
Yeah.
So
Well, we
that's-
don't know. I mean,
yeah.
it's a pending lawsuit. It could be settled, of
Right.
course. Talking about vacuum cleaners, Do you think Tiverton is going to put the gigantic vacuum cleaner in called Casino?
Who knows? Only the shadow knows for sure.
Right.
Well, I mean, we're lucky we got Sucker Brook going through that
That's right.
property.
We got
That's
Sucker
gonna
Brook,
be,
and it's a giant vacuum cleaner, but it does have attachments, and those attachments are jobs. So the problem is we have a vacuum cleaner already. They all go down to the corner and spend all their money on scratch tickets anyway. So
Coming over here, I stopped to drop off a piece of mail, and I saw a guy bent over. I didn't know what he was doing at first, but
yep.
Scratching away.
You see him scratching
the
away.
woman who parked and came out of the car had a ticket, so
Yeah.
I guess she probably was a winner. Let me ask you this now. We have the Fall River Office of Economic Development, and well, of course,
We have other names for it.
yeah. Should that office be abolished, if it could be, and maybe an office of jobs put in its place?
Oh, I think that's almost a rhetorical question. I mean, the Office of Economic Destruction has done nothing in over 20 years. I mean, just look at this community. It's a disaster. People have moved out. All we can entice is people that are coming into subsidized housing. The job market is virtual. We're always at the top of the unemployment, and the Office of Economic Disaster, touts things like, okay, the carousel is going to bring in things, the bounty, the this, the that, and the reality is, if there was ever any entity that worked with the city that has proven itself inept, incompetent, and inane, it is the Office of Economic Destruction.
And what I think is funny is that you said an office of jobs. Do you know under what auspices, under what umbrella the Fall River Office of Economic Destruction is under?
Yeah.
Jobs for Fall River.
Well,
Tell me that's not an oxymoron.
that's been it's a perennial,
It's the running gag for Fall River, and I call it the nightmare now known as Fall River.
All right, we've got the charter review committee, and we have the people going around collecting signatures. Do you think they're going to make the deadline, which is June 30th, Josh?
Seems that way. I spoke to Chris Bartley and City Councilor Mike Mioza. I think they said they were around 6,000 signatures.
6,000.
So it
Are
looks
those
like
raw?
I'm not sure, but I know that that's something that was said to me. So I'm only repeating what was said to me. That's all. So if I'm lying on the air, it's because the information was given to me wrong. So
They did not say certified signatures.
they did not say certified signatures. They said
Okay.
they had 6,000 signatures.
Because the
So
last time I checked, they had 4,500 certified signatures.
So they may have 2 to 3 more
They
thousand.
need about 7,500.
7,500.
15% of the registered voters
Right.
by
But it's-
June 30th.
But it's a good thing for Fall River. I don't
think they're gonna make
dislike the idea of having a charter. I think it balances a little bit of the power between the executive branch and the legislative branch, and it also gives the voters an opportunity to vote for law changes.
And I'm all for a charter review, and I think it's a wonderful idea. My problem is, and I called Mike out on this, because Mike said initially, and this is what I heard, that he did not want an elected official to serve on that charter review commission.
And if he said
Okay.
that, he should not.
Right.
If he should
And
do both.
Chris Bartley jumped in to defend him and said, no, he didn't want an elected official appointed to that commission. Well, numerous people, and it happened yesterday at the City Council chamber and elsewhere, have said no. He said he wanted no elected politician on that commission. Now, when I asked Mike, are you going to take out papers, because this was before he took out his papers for City Council, are you going to continue to run for Charter Commission? He says, if I take out papers for City Council, I will not run for Charter Commission. So, Councilor Mioza, step up to the plate, withdraw your name as a Charter Commissioner, or withdraw your name as a City Council candidate. One or the other. Because if you run for both, then I'm sorry, but you misrepresented yourself and you lied to the people.
Now, did he take papers out for charter?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
It was the first one.
You can take them out, it doesn't mean he's going to
He's
return
gonna-
them.
Yeah, right.
Okay, taxes, there's been a lot of talk lately about that, and also about the proliferation of nonprofits in the city of Fall River. Nonprofits are all over the city of Fall River, because apparently what we have is the demographics for those types of
The welfare
organizations.
demographics.
And the nonprofits are not paying any taxes on the property, on the real estate that they have. What do you think about that, Chip?
Well, you know, I mean, we keep going to the council meetings and we keep telling the city council that, you know, there's this relentless attack on the taxpayer in the city. We have only 37% of the people in Fall River own property. And out of that 37%, I would venture, and this is a guess, 37% is a statistic from the federal government. But I would say 50% of those people are retired or on fixed incomes, and they don't have a lot of money. So when we continue to burden these people with taxes, you know, the reality is we are not going to attract any other type of business into this community, because we can't support a business, because they don't understand that you need people with money to have a business locate here. I think it's a horrific commentary on how out of touch that our government is when Walmart, one of the most anti-worker, anti-people company on the planet Earth, is running a commercial at this moment, and I've seen it numerous times, that they're investing $1 billion in pay raises to their employees to stimulate the economy. And Fall River can't figure that out. I'm going to a meeting after this, the Flint neighborhood, and the mayor's going to try to sell the collection fees, because that's the only way.
That $10 fee?
Yeah, we know how to fix things. Let's not get rid of all the supervisors. Let's not reorganize the government. Let's not be more efficient. Let's not find out who screwed up the windows, who got the 22 windows. Let's not fix what's broke. Let's just keep taxing everybody. And guess what? In another 10 or 15 years, this city will be a ghost town, because I'll tell you what, in a not too distant future, a lot of these people on fixed incomes are going to lose their homes.
Well, between the nonprofits and the tax breaks that are given to companies, I think it would probably behoove the Office of Economic Development. I mean, that's their job, to create jobs, to put together maybe a list of these organizations.
But you see, here's the problem.
What effect it has on the city.
But here's the problem, okay? We have been touting that we should switch over and start requesting a fee in lieu of taxes to the nonprofits. Kathy Edvarez came out and said, oh, well, that's voluntary. We can't enforce it. Well, then fine. You know how you enforce it? Every single service you send them a bill for. You're going to get the money one way or the other. They'll finally come around and say, okay, yeah, we're going to do that. Because these
All right, what you're saying is
nonprofits
that collect their trash, a fee. If the fire truck stops
Shows up.
by.
Okay, if you don't want to pay a flat fee, you'll pay a fee for every service.
For every service.
Like, you know, like at the fire department implemented something, if they don't fix their alarm systems, get too many alarms, you'd be charged after so many responses. Well, charge them for every service that they avail themselves with in the city.
It'll be a la carte. It's that simple. Okay? One police call, $600. One fire call, $6,000. That's how you have to do it. I mean, if they don't want to
How many
pay,
fire calls do you think some of these places get?
Some of them have a lot.
They do. Like,
yeah. Charlton.
Well, Charlton was I used to spend, when they first put the new alarm system in Charlton, I spent half my tour of duty at Charlton. It was like that box used to come in sometimes
They have good
17 or
food at the
18 times a
cafeteria.
day.
Yep.
You know, so, you know, and Charlton, which, I mean,
Well, how about the
it's
housing
laughable.
authority? Are they going to be assessed a $10, like Mitchell Apartments?
No, they're already commercial waste,
Yeah.
but they have the city pick up the recycling that they pay to have. Or they already pay the city to pick up the recycling. So that's a wash. But this is the situation. The collection fee doesn't apply to businesses. The collection fee only applies to residential units. And that means, and you know, everyone says $10, it's not a big deal. It's $120 a year for each apartment or single family home.
Yeah, if you have a
Okay?
three-decker.
If you have a,
But
if you have
it's a tax.
It's a tax.
It's not a fee because you're assessed whether you have someone in that apartment or not. That makes it a tax, not a fee. A fee is when you pay when you utilize something. If I go buy a license, it's a fee.
Right.
So if I get a dog license, it's a fee.
So
if I cross a toll bridge.
Phantoms, ghosts?
Yeah, ghosts.
Can't-
You got a 6-family house, and let's say for
There's only
argument's sake,
4 that are occupied, 2 are not occupied.
you're paying for the 2 that are
The
unoccupied.
ghosts and the other
Right.
2
Ghosts.
are going to have to pay.
Collection fee.
But he's-
What we're collecting, we don't
Right.
know, but we're collecting.
But he's right. We're going to turn it to a ghost town if we continue to tax the heck out of all the residents of the city. And it's basically what it comes down to. Whether you pay the $10 as a homeowner and you have a 3-decker, you're obviously going to pass that to the guy who's renting your apartment or the woman who's renting your apartment. Simple economics. That's how everything gets passed down. I mean, yeah, $10 is nothing. I mean, we can take $10 out of our pocket, go to McDonald's, and poof, there it is. It's gone. But it's the idea why we're paying the $10.
Okay, and why are we paying the $10?
Well, supposedly our city can't manage our budget. So this is a situation that we're
Supposedly?
But while we're saying we're broke, we have to do this in order to keep fire and police on the job. They're still talking about hiring a tourism director.
Yep.
They're still talking about, and they're going to give a bargaining
What is
unit
a
in this
tourist?
city
We're going to end
a
with
pay
that.
raise.
We're going to end with that issue. And what is the tourism director going to do?
Nothing. Because
We
there's
don't have a
nothing-
whole. Fall River does not have a hotel.
No.
Fall River doesn't have one running
No.
movie theater.
Remember tree.
It doesn't have.
Nothing. Rich,
It doesn't have
there's
a
nothing
convention
You know what he's
center.
going
the
to
tourism
do,
director is
Richard?
going to be able to do.
You know what he's going to do, Richard? He's going to collect a salary, and he's going to get benefits from the city.
Yep.
And,
And retirement.
And he will be someone who is politically connected.
All right, we're going to end on that note. Gentlemen, thank you. It's always a pleasure to have you on the panel show. I always learn a lot from these guys. They're always out there, you know, looking under every rock, so to speak.
And one aside, Richard, at the opening was very, very good. But I just want to let you know, I'm not sure if you're aware, you probably are, but we had a Fall River resident. They showed the paratroopers, and I was a paratrooper. But we had a Fall River resident who jumped at Normandy with the 82nd Airborne Division, Mr. LaBurge from LaBurge Wrecking. He made 5 combat jumps in the Second World War, and he jumped in at Normandy.
Those are the guys that went in around 3 o'clock in the morning before everyone else to secure a few bridges here and there, and took a shellacking.
Yeah.
Greatest generation that ever lived.
Missed jumps. Oh, but anyway, look, thank you out there for watching, and I'll see you next week.